Please be seated. Loving God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. For those of you who read a lot, literature, the Bible, whatever source, you realize that there are certain classic stories in the human tradition. And many of them are revealed in the Old Testament. Stories of sibling rivalry, stories about who survives in acts of war, stories about moving from one place to another, and yes, the story of the Exodus. And it is a story that is profoundly symbolic of so much of the human journey. The Exodus, which moves a nation, a people, from a place of bondage to a place of freedom, from a place where life fell apart and was no longer good to a place where life promises an abundance, a gift, a change. It's not ironic that the pilgrims who came in the early 1600s to these shores compared the Exodus story with their story. They left Europe, the image for Egypt, which was a place that did not permit them to worship as they desired to worship. They felt oppressed, and they were seeking what? Freedom. And they crossed the Great Sea, the Atlantic, symbolic for the Red Sea in the Hebrew story. And they arrived on these shores, which were for them the promised land. And it was in this setting that their lives would experience a freedom, a newness, a beginning that they could never have experienced back in Europe. And so the story, which is an archetype of human literature, the Exodus, is played out in their story. The New Testament reading that we shared today speaks of two kinds of bread. And it is something that is profoundly true and real as we live our lives. We understand quickly the nature of bread that nourishes our bodies and sustains us physically. And perhaps we are a little less quick to realize that there is another kind of bread. A bread that enables us as a people to be filled with hope, to carry a sense of call, of mission, of desire to accomplish something inside us. And the story says that it is Jesus. It is his example, his teaching, his work that is the bread we are asked to sample, to experience. This bread, which gives a different meaning to our living. It seems to me that the image of bread is powerful because in the world in which we live, the physical bread that sustains our living, that enables us to survive day after day, this physical bread is such a powerful symbol for an attitude that we bring to our living. And that attitude is, this is mine. I've worked hard for it. I deserve it. This is mine. Another attitude, another way of living life that is often not very reflected in the media or the press of our day is an attitude of this second kind of bread. The bread that gives the world hope. the bread that enables people to accomplish things together for each other because they care about each other. This bread, this second bread, is that bread that Jesus is talking about that is God's call, God's claim, God's desire for the way we might live. Not just physically, but that we might live with a gift, the gift of our lives, that we might live spiritually. And so this second bread is a more powerful, awesome, extraordinary bread that speaks to us about what it means to be in the world differently than the world exists. Now, one of the great challenges that we all face today is this remarkable, rapid secularization of our society. Quinnipiac College did a recent poll where they were talking to people about their involvement with religious communities. And one of the questions in their survey was very interesting. It says, how many of you in Connecticut are actively involved in church activities? 20% of the population of Connecticut said they were actively involved. Another 20% said, well, we consider ourselves kind of on the fringe or church members, but 80% of the people in our communities are now living an almost totally secular life, very much apart from the weekly activities of a congregation like ours. And all we need to do is look at this worship bulletin that we share every Sunday to realize how many ways we seek to offer bread to the community in which we live. The activities, the programs, the work. In fact, this Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, our congregation will cooperate again this year with Parents and Kids Foundation, and we will throw our doors open to the whole town and people from surrounding towns to come share Thanksgiving dinner from 12 to 2. Absolutely no charge. It's our gift to the community so that anyone who's alone, anyone whose family is not from around here, anyone who would like to come and share is very welcome into the embrace of this wonderful meal and of all the people who will come. And we already know that this is our biggest dinner of the year. We do it on Christmas Day, we do it on Easter Day,